did a show for a group one time at this nice hotel. It's like 600 people, but they put us in the basement and they had all these posts. After about 5 minutes of doing this, I stopped and I finally said, I went to college so I didn't have to get a job dancing around a pole.
I've done a lot of gigs at country clubs, and they've usually been a great experience, though sometimes a little embarrassing. Yeah, I was doing a gig at a country club near my house in LA years ago, and I had to stop at a guard booth to get cleared for entering this really hoity-toity place. Yeah, I pulled up in my little black 10-year-old Honda Civic, and just as the guard stepped out of his booth, I remembered something. Yeah, my cute little Honda Civic had silver duct tape on the driver's side holding the window and the door together. Yeah, too funny. I'm sure the guard noticed it. I was totally embarrassed. I didn't have any time to explain to him that my car had been broken into in Vegas the week before and I hadn't had time to get it fixed, so I had to duct tape the window. He did let me in because I was on the list, though I'm sure he wondered what kind of loser comedian this group had hired. Now, I can't remember the name of the group or the type, but I do remember that the show went great. They laughed a lot, and it was just really fun. After the show, I had lots of people surrounding me, and some of them walked out of the building chatting with me. Yeah, when all of a sudden I remembered my car and the duct tape. I stopped walking and said, I gotta use the restroom. And then I ran inside and stood in the bathroom for like 20 or 30 minutes until I was sure everyone was gone. Then I kind of snuck back out to my duct-taped car and took off. Another embarrassing country club situation happened a few years before that. Luckily, I wasn't the one getting embarrassed. I was working the gig with a magician, and he was very interactive with the audience. He brought a woman up on stage for some magic trick, and he was asking her questions like, her name and how many kids she had and what she does for a living. She stammered and stuttered, and he kept pushing for an answer on this. I guess he needed her to say something about her job as part of his humor, but after a couple minutes, it became really apparent to everyone, except him, that she didn't have a job, that she had married into this country club. But this magician just didn't get it. He kept at her until it was just uncomfortable. It ended really weird, and finally I think he just skipped the bit that he was going to do and had her sit down. To this day, I don't think this guy realized that when you're at an expensive country club, many of the spouses may not have jobs like the rest of us. And one other funny, weird country club experience was around the same time as the magician show. I was in the back having dinner with the other comics. The country club had all these pictures on the wall, and you could tell that there was absolutely no diversity at that club. Everyone on the wall was an old white guy. Us comedians were talking during dinner about different clubs we worked at, and one comic mentioned a club, and he said it's a good one, and it's mostly an urban club, black comics, and the audience was mostly black. When he said black comics and black audience, I thought the client was going to have a stroke. Yeah, he leaned over to us and whispered, "Our waiter is black." Like we were saying something bad, which we weren't. Comics talk all the time about different clubs and who's in the audience and who's on stage. It's not a big deal, and nobody said anything derogatory. But this client was afraid of the word black. It was hilarious, but kind of sad. The takeaway from this is to know your surroundings. Not that you have to put on airs or change yourself at all, but you can make people uncomfortable if you don't realize where they're coming from. The magician made the whole audience uncomfortable, not realizing that this woman may not be employed. Us comics made the client uncomfortable by talking about black clubs, and I felt uncomfortable because I didn't have a chance to explain or at least make a joke about why I had duct tape on my car. Know your surroundings and don't make people uncomfortable. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Feel free to check out my website, theworklady.com. This is Jan. Take care and enjoy your journey.